Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is January the 15th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2023 on the Greco-Roman civil calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Article 3, Moorish, American, Al-Moroccan, universal court action. We are the sovereign living justices in capitis diminution nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminution nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish, American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves. For we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We're ancient Washington, District 4, Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are exercising and executing the law, executing and exercising the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, living United States District 4, Columbia Court. We are the sovereign fiduciaries, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, entitled beneficiaries in this cause for action. We are peace. We are one state, one nation, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension and issue a universal creditor's bill for possession, 9/10 of the law, and custody, 1/10 of the law. We are the law over all judgment debtors. We exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time. So today, keeping in mind what we've done in the last, actually since we've been activating this particular arm of our government, today we want to talk about monetizing and cashing the bonds that we create. For those who may have missed the prior calls, we did, the United States Supreme Court did invoke sovereign jurisdiction regarding Moors that had been detained by subject status entities, subjects really. And so we have activated our United States bond, they are creditor bonds program. And so we want to show you what's been being done on the back end, because, you know, many of us were wanting to know, you know, when a bond is signed, what happens on the financial end to make it fungible or make it, you know, why is it that bonds were so, you know, they had those in place, enacted having them in place. What was the big deal about treasury bonds? Before we go into that topic, we want to congratulate everyone who nationally, our nation period, we just want to congratulate our nation all together. We're at day 26 of our 40-day national fast. We are abstaining from consuming the flesh and blood of land animals as we celebrate our return back to the land. Our fast started December 21st, which is winter solstice, and it ends January 31st. For those who choose to end it, there are some who are adopting it as a lifestyle, and that's a good thing. And then there are some who will go back to the land animals as a part of their diet. And again, we're not sitting in judgment of any Moors who do whatever it is that they do. we are doing this, for our own edification and for the uplifting of all of fallen humanity, which is the energy associated with this particular fast. With that being stated, let's get right into monetizing of sovereign bonds. So I want to thank the empresses that are just diligently sending their research forward so that we can put it with what we know. And Empress Rosetta, Empress Angel, Empress Chitali, Empress Shasha, Empress Shea Marie, and there are many others, powerful empresses who are doing the research and sending the information so that we can look at it and present it. And so when we present the information, we're not presenting it by ourselves. We're presenting it together. So if there's anything that you see that we need to state or that we need to look at in these processes, and this is for everyone, please speak, because this is the time and the place for us to put our bright minds together and our bright and beautiful eternal energies and light together so that we continue to dominate this vast estate the way that our ancestors meant for us to do so. With that being stated, this form, as you know, we issued several bonds by way of the United States Supreme Court in our previous two congressional assemblies, which are also court actions. And what we're doing is we are restating everything that's out there, reforming, reconstructing, and utilizing everything that's available to us. So, Moors, when you are doing your processes and things, or you're looking at resources that you want to take advantage of, you can take advantage of any resources that are on the land. Just simply restate them. Restate just means rewrite them. Whatever the form is, rewrite it. Whatever the application is, make it an affidavit and put it on the public record so that you can, and then send it. And when you send it, all of your addresses that you're sending it to, the state should be written all the way out. Don't use abbreviations, because we don't use abbreviations for the things that we do. And that's something that we're, reprogramming ourselves for as well. We do use acronyms. An acronym and an abbreviation are two different things. An abbreviation is part of the word. An acronym is the first letter of each word. So I want to put these links in the chat so that you can see what we're discussing here, and we can all look at it together and discuss it and implement it. So, and these links will be under this video on YouTube at Light Tajiri Bay channel, because we want to see, because bonds were being implemented on various levels. There were individual savings bonds that we have the authority in our own capacity to demonstrate. And then we as the state demonstrate the Treasury bonds. So with that being stated, we want to take a look at one of the forms. It's a Fiscal Bureau for Fiscal Services form, and we have not restated this form as of yet, but we're restating it even here on the public record verbally, and we're going to be restating it upcoming with some of the demonstrations, because we have issued bonds. But we need to know that process and see what was going on in the background when there was a bond issue and they would say, you have to sign this in order to get out. You have to sign this in order to get out of jail. You have to sign. And we were saying, no, we're not signing any fraudulent bonds. We're not doing any of that. You don't get any signatures. You don't get any sandwiches by eating off of us. We're not doing that. And so let's look at the process that they were using and where the route that those bonds took. First, let's look at this form here. This it's a bond form, and let's make this as big as we can make it so that we can see it. Now, this form, once the bond is created, and we want to go to the bank or send it to the bank rather, because we don't usually go these types of demonstrations. Individuals don't walk into a bank and do these types of things. Normally it's done by mail because it's the whole state speaking, or it's a whole fiscal service speaking. And this word fiscal service, we do works until money is involved. It's works until money is involved. We had to take over the services as well. And we could call this the Bureau for the Fiscal Works. We could do that. But when we say services, or any time we use that, it does not mean the same thing as what the foreign hybrids were, or the corpses rather, were using it for, using that word to mean. So let's take a look at this request by fiduciary for distribution of United States Treasury securities. This is one of those documents that we're going to be restating so that those who wanted a distribution regarding the birth certificate. But again, Morris, you're creating your own birth certificate. And the birth certificate is the short form, and then the living birth affidavit is the long form. But it's not a form with us, it's affidavits. Both are affidavits. And the restatement of this form and the language that's in it is precisely why no one ever cashed in on fake birth certificates. No one ever did that and actually got credits and were able to spend those credits freely. Some people got to different places in that process, and there's even some modern Europeans who a distribution was given, but they were never able to put their hands on it because they were using divinity status. They were using the status of the divine, and that is us. That's not anyone else. So in looking at this Fiscal Services Form 1455, do not fill out this form. Restate it first, please. Because if you fill it out, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So, because many have tried that. Don't do it because your status is above the document. So you have to actually elevate and uplift the document to your proper status. As above, so below. And this fiduciary document, once it's restated, it already has Moorish government affidavits to go with it. Because no form like this, even the ones that we restate, we generally don't send them without affidavits on Moorish government letterhead to back it up, like we did in our last meeting with the bonds that we sent. The bonds don't go by themselves, or the notification of bond doesn't go by itself. The actual bonds never leave our possession either. We just give notification that a bond was issued. And so with that bond being issued, when Moors want to get a distribution of that, and we're gonna map that for you here. But this form right here, we'll come back to this form because this form is in the steps of mapping the bonds to the bank. Now, I do want to point something out here. important, it says right here, making any false, fictitious. Now, don't they call their all caps a fictitious? It's a fiction, isn't it? They call it a fiction. Therefore, you cannot use theirs. You must create your own. Or fraudulent claim, making any false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim or statement. And they always say statement because they know that this is a state document. And if you try and state it in a dead system and you claim to be a dead entity in that system, you're going to have some issues. Or nothing will happen at all, and nothing. Properly stated is the key. Making any false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim or statement to the United States is a crime and may be prosecuted. And they say crime, but you can't really prosecute a crime. You can prosecute facts. Print in ink or type all information. Okay, and they don't say what color ink, so we do it in the ink, in the color ink that we do it in. So we'll come back to this form here in just a moment. Let's take a look at the process for bonds. So one of the inferences, let me make sure this is on the screen. One of the inferences, actually several of the inferences previously mentioned, were doing their research, their valuable research. Several of them were doing their valuable research and came across a document that we've restated here. And this document, we're going to tie this in with our court action that we did previously, but we're just using different accounts. So the bonds that we sent from the National Sheriff's Office for the Moors where the preliminary action had taken place, this is what happens behind the scenes, okay? Fiscal Service is contacted, and we know we're Fiscal Service, okay? And that's why we're talking about Fiscal Service on the, and this has been changed. This is not the real manager. It's been changed. I changed it. But this could be any of your appellations here. Bureau for Fiscal Services, and West Virginia is written out. It's not WV. It's written all the way out. And the zip code has a plus sign here, and it's in blue. So we're talking about a trust here. We're not talking about the land. We're talking about a trust. The map that these take is shown here. It says, Dear Mr. Moore, or in the case of the Moors, it would be Dear Master Moore, because each Moore is a master. It says you are requested to sell the 1 million shares, and if you remember the bond that we sent out, it was for 1 million gold United States dollars. $1 equals 1 share. So you are requested to sell the 1 million shares for Pauline Denise Ritchie, and we could have put the all caps of the nobles, because they are the fiduciaries for their all caps when properly stated, and they are always, okay. All Moors are the fiduciaries for their all caps, and so I just used mine as for this to exhibit this and to show this. You are requested to sell the 1 million shares for Pauline Denise Ritchie. This is an account, and a minor at that was electronically wired to Pauline's entitlement account, and that account number is the sovereign security number, or in this case, the state security number. The state security number and the sovereign security number are the same sequence of numbers. It's the same sequence of numbers as the Social Security number, except you can't use a Social Security number. It must be a state security number or a sovereign security number. Okay, and the difference being you've taken fiduciary control and stated that, and you perfect by control that account when you're competently stating it on the public record. So you take out any dashes, because a minus sign is for debtors, and either plus signs or you leave space there. Or you can even put it together and not leave a space there. It's up to you how you want to express your account. When it goes into the system is going to put it together anyway. It's not going to have those dashes and spaces and things like that. It's going to put those numbers together so that every time there's a query on that number in the system for you as a creditor, it will show all the credits and things that have gone forth for you. It says the security referenced above has been received by the National Sheriff's Office, and they received it from our court as a result of the settlement of court action, and then this will be the cause number from our Article 3 court. It's not a case number, because case numbers are from lower courts or inferior courts, but it's the same sequence of numbers. Case numbers, the difference being, again, case numbers have minus signs. And so it says here, please see the attached supporting documents. So we would put all of those documents that we put on the public record in our last meeting as supporting documentation for this cover letter. And then it says the National Sheriff's Office, and this is in capitis diminutio minima, authorizes the Bureau, and this should be for Fiscal Service, to liquidate the Pauline Denise Ritchie stock number of that cause or case or action. Pursuant to Federal Law 31 USC, or United States Code, and we don't use their abbreviations, 324. And then it says, so we can take a look at that right now. Let's take a look at 31 USC 324 so that we can see disposing, and we have to rewrite this, by the way. Let's look at it here. Actually, let's pick one of the other ones. Just one moment. Okay, we'll go here. 31 United States Code, subsection 324. Let me make sure it's on the screen and make it a little bit bigger. Disposing and extending the maturity of obligations. So we would reword that. Disposing is the same as dispossessing or taking from. That's what disposing is. You're taking it from one place and putting it somewhere else. Disposing and extending the maturity of obligations. And obligations, in our case, this word would be creditor obligations. The Secretary of the Treasury may, and just go back to the 40-something documents where it talks about who we are. The Secretary of the Treasury may dispose of obligations acquired by the Secretary for the United States government or delivered by an executive agency and make arrangements to extend the maturity of those obligations. Or we can end the maturity of it. And for us, it would be ending the maturity. In other words, we're saying it has reached its maturity. Let's cash it in. Okay, let's deposit this into our bank account, the credits for it. And again, that's why we had to create the bonds, because you can't do that with debtor bonds because you're not a debtor. It says the Secretary may dispose or extend the maturity of obligations under subsection A of this section in the way, in the amounts, and at the prices for cash, obligations, property, a combination of cash, obligations, or property. In other words, however the Secretary chooses. Go back to the 40-something red documents that we put on the public record. Those documents precede these documents. And on conditions the Secretary considers advisable and in the public interest. Okay? The authority under this section is in addition to authority under another law. This is the red documents right here, the law. When the Savior speaks, the Savior and the law speaks in red first. Then blue is admiralty or merchant. And our sovereignty states that we can do that as often as we choose. And then there's corporate, which is black ink, or it can be blue if you choose for it to be blue, and we choose blue. The authority under this section is in addition to authority under law. So you cannot, this is not usable unless the documents have been put on the law has been. In order for the law to be properly executed, it must first be established. That is a maxim for law. And they put this tiny little one sentence here that says you must be the law before you can even cash anything in or use anything like that. And that's why it doesn't work for individuals who are trying to use a fake system. It works for those who have decided, hey, we've come together with the state. Let's do this. So, and we're all the state. We're all equal in this, in terms of the state, in terms of the Moors. Those of the bloodline and birthright who know who they are. So, with that being stated, let's go back now to the mapping of these treasuries, because these are all treasuries credits. And so, again, with this 1 million shares, we could have, when this is activated for the Moors who had the bonds, where our state said, nope, they don't belong to you, they belong to this state, this nation, this court, this government. Their all caps would go here, and it would be electronically wired to their entitlement account. And the entitlement account is held by the state, okay? And again, the state is all of us. And then what happens is, in the interest of both the all caps and the public, it is routed through the Treasury. So it comes from the court first. The court speaks first because the court is the bank. And the court and the bank and the Treasury, the court and the Treasury are one. Okay? And the court and the Treasury issues the bond. And then whoever the bond is issued to, in this case, the National Sheriff's Office, that National Sheriff's Office authorizes the Bureau for Fiscal Service to liquidate that bond. And then proceeds for the sale are sent back around to the Treasury in that territory. And that's where there were different banks for each territory. And so in this case, the Treasury went to Payment Services West. The agency or ALC code is 20180501. And let's just take a look at these banking codes, because that's what these are. These banking codes can be found, and I believe we put the link in the chat. But let's take a look at the banking codes really quickly. These ALC banking codes, agency location code. Let me make sure this is on the screen. The agency location code is a numeric symbol used to identify accounting reports and documents. It's accounts prepared by or for agency accounting stations and the Department of the Treasury. In our case, it's Treasury, and it even has the word Treasury in parentheses on this site, on the Treasury site, because they know that we're not the Department of the Treasury, we are the Treasury. Financial centers, and so we chose west as that financial center, but there's east, there's north, and there's south. And it is used by Treasury. It's not used by the Department of the Treasury, it's used by Treasury. To ensure correct financial reporting, agency accounting stations use an 8-digit symbol, which is what that is. Non-Treasury Disbursing Offices use a 4-digit symbol, and Treasury Financial Centers use a 3-digit symbol. The 3-digit symbol is preceded by 5 other digits, so it's still going to be an 8-digit code. And so let's look at the ALC codes. This link, let me put this in the chat as well so that you can see the ALC codes that we've restated. And it's interesting, when we look at these account location codes, it tells you which accounts, which location codes have been activated and which ones are still pending. So let's take a look at that, because I found this report to be just amazing, interesting, and affirming for all that we're doing. Let's see. Okay. So this is the G Invoicing Trading Partner Directory. I just love this report. When you're talking about G Invoicing, I love when everything just comes together. When you're talking about G Invoicing, you know how we know that, first of all, the post office is the Treasury and the bank earthwide, okay? And the Supreme Court at Earth, which is the Moors, dictates what happens, with the financials. And so as we were looking at this process, we said, well, what would make it why are the codes on a G invoicing report? Why do they call it that? It's because on these green return receipts that we use when we send out our mailings, if you look, it says there permit number G10, postage and fees paid. Okay, and some may not. If you're not in the meeting, you may not see this. In fact, I do want you to see it, so I'm going to pause the screen sharing for just a moment. So that you can see what we're showing here. This is one of those green return receipts. It's a banking document, just so that we're all aware of that. And then if you look there, it says permit number G10. That is a trust. It is an account. And when properly restated, this is how we restate ours. And we've shown you this previously, okay? And so this is G invoicing, which means that's another, this is where all the cashing of things and the movement and the mapping of the bonds it happens, okay? Just let me put that back in here. So hopefully you were able to see that. I'm going to open the floor, the table. I always mess that up. The table, so that we can hear each other. Just one moment. Sometimes I have to refresh this so that we can. Okay, so are you all able to see what we're showing here with regard to these documents on the screen. Just one moment. The ALC code, let me get back to the ALC code report. So are you able to see the ALC report on the screen?
Yes, Mom, yes, we are.
Yes, Mom. Okay. This, and you know, this one-page document, this one, with these ALC codes, this is how I was able to look and see where everything came from and where everything was going. So these bonds, we said Treasury Payment Services West, the agency. So we just looked on this and we found one that was appropriate. And then we said, okay, agency taxpayer identification number is the state security number. And more, this is why state security numbers and sovereign security numbers are so important. We had to have them because some people were saying, why are we taking that sequence of numbers? You know, that was their hypothecated fraud. When we properly stated, it's no longer fraud. That which is created in truth stays in truth. And this is how you get access to your estate and the funds and all the wealth that's just flying around everywhere. And just like I was, as we were discussing this earlier today, every account number, every case or cause number, and in this case it will be cause numbers. In other words, we'll take that case number and lean it and elevate the sequence of numbers up, take the minus signs out, use that sequence of numbers, then that sequence of numbers becomes the bond number. And as many cause numbers or CUSIP number, it becomes the CUSIP number. CUSIP number and bond number is the same thing. And so you can take, for every quote-unquote traffic ticket that has a number, for every court case, quote-unquote, that has a number, for the birth certificate numbers, all of those numbers, when they are properly stated and created fresh and new, have value that can be used. And so what did we do? The court issued the bond to the sheriff, the national sheriff, not any corpse or fake dead pretend sheriff. They issued it through the national sheriff's office. So you will see now that we're not funding the dead. This is all circulating in our nation. And so the Supreme Court issued to the National Sheriff's Office. The National Sheriff's Office issued to the Treasury the paperwork. The Supreme Court issues the ruling. And then the National Sheriff's Office collects and they issue the documentation that routes the payment to the Treasury to let the Treasury know that a disbursement is due. And that's what ALC, agency location codes, are. They tell the Treasury that there's something due, there's a disbursement due, and where to disperse that, and who. Agency taxpayer identification number. Okay, now this word taxpayer, it means who's being paid over here on our side. Over there, it meant who owed a debt. Over here, the taxpayer is the one who is entitled to the payment. So it's really taxpayee identification number. One letter makes all the difference, and properly stated makes all the difference. And then we just put some, put an appellation here, whoever's attention, and I actually meant to do it that way. And then it says, this is for someone at the United States Treasury to make sure that that $1 million for that bond goes to this taxpayee. Okay, taxpayee, anything that's been done, Moors, where there was some unlawful action, you were detained or whatever it is, and whatever bond was issued, for example, when I was doing my POW demonstrations with the quote-unquote city of Federal Way, quote-unquote, we know that's not who that is. They, in their documentation and their debtor system, issued two $5,000 Federal Reserve fiat debt note pieces of paper, bonds, $5,000 each. So they were saying there's a $10,000 bond on this particular case. Well, we know that we didn't sign anything, and we weren't going to sign anything because that's a fake, fraudulent system. But now we know that there's 10,000 that can go that is in my taxpayee account already. There's 10,000 in there. Among many, there's way more than that in there. But for the sake of accounting, we know where that 10,000 came from because we restated that 5,000 those bonds. We restated them to make them creditor bonds. So then they become a credit to the Moors and not a debt. But they must be restated. And so, and here we just put the address of the court here at Seattle Territory. Payment Services West, let's look at and I'll just show you where I got that from on this chart. Oops. Yes, Islam. Just one moment, nobility. Okay, it's unlocked, nobility. So I just went down this list and just looked and said, okay, where is the location of the account for where this credit should go? And it's now credited to my Treasury Direct account. Okay, this is how things get in and out of Treasury Direct. Okay, and so I looked down here and just went through, and I mean, you can see all of the, and I'm gonna just take a look at this report because here it says G invoice status.
Anybody can put that shit in
G invoice status, and when it says G invoice status, just one moment, Morris, where it says G. Where it says G invoice status, just a moment. See, these are the things that, we needed to know. And it takes patience to go through this process more. So we just, once we show that we know the process and we demonstrate the process, then we see the results that we're starting to see now, So, let's take a look here and find this one from this document. Just a moment. Let me pull this one up. Agency location code, copy. Just one moment. Let me see if I can get this number in here. There's probably a search somewhere.
Yeah, go to the magnifying glass.
There it is. Okay. Thank you. I was trying to find that. There. Okay. And find all. Let's see. Here it is. Okay, there it is. So now, here it is and this says Department of the Treasury, Payment Services Division West, and then it has a post office box, et cetera, et cetera. And it says awaiting onboarding. That's what I love about this report. Here's Payment Services East for those who are at East. Here's Payment Services Division 1, which we could have used that one as well. We could have used it if we wanted to use it. We could have used any of these because they're all the same. It's just a matter of which one you chose. Okay? And I just chose West because that's where we are. So it says awaiting onboarding. That just means, have they nationalized this particular department, this ministry? Some of them have already been onboarded. Onboarding is there it is, the account established. Department of Defense account established. GSA account established. And if you go back and look at the things we've done, where we did liens and all of that, so everything that we're doing is being documented properly. So and then there's some that were not established or awaiting onboarding. Okay, so these are all trusts. Where it says sub-organization name and organization name, these are all trusts, financial trusts. Department of Justice, Bureau of Prisons. This one actually should say that it's activated already, but we have to do one other thing, which is a levy. We have to do a levy. So, but even as we're doing these things, you know, trading partner Q again, and then when we put it on there, we don't use these names. We're the Justice Ministry. You know, we're the Prison Bureau Ministry. You know, so this is just an annotation in the system that things are happening. Okay, product account established, production account established, etc. Okay, and so let's go down here. And what it looks like is as things were being done, they just were going down the list and establishing and saying, okay, yep, is this done? Yep, this is done. Is this done? Yep, this is done. So with this being stated, take the time, Morris, to please look and study the list. Okay? Just one moment. Just one moment. So, you know, as we are going through this process of mapping the bonds to the bank accounts, you can see now where the bank accounts and all of this is going. Okay, just one moment. Let me. Oh, I'm glad I left that. That feature in place. Okay, so
Yes, Mom, I have a question.
Sure.
So a lot of us Moors have done the liens already on the public record. We've done the, you know, court actions and all those things put on the public record and the arrest commands. So from the example that we had did with the court action with Brother Lamont, that document that you created for the sheriffs, those seals and or I can't really see what they say as far as denoting whether or not it's for that territory specifically or we can use it everywhere. And then, yes, what does it say inside?
For Charles County, Maryland, or yeah, Maryland. This is, well, this is for Maryland, okay? Anytime we are doing things and looking at the territories and seeing what's going on, there's always going to be some form out there that we can look at and then properly state it. So I'll show you where this came from. But if this had happened at Seattle territory, then I would have gone to see what the fake sheriff's letterhead looks like, and then I would restate it and say this is from the National Sheriff's Office for this territory.
Okay.
Okay.
And then so I understand now. And then for the fiscal document, you had stated that it was a manager or a name of a Moor, an appellation of a Moor, as you said.
I just picked one. That's just a sample, just to show everyone where the route that the bonds take.
So we can say any more that we know and put that as the manager for the sheriff, even including ourselves?
Now, when I do them, I'm going to put my own appellation there, just because I already know that we have to do, that we have to implement all of this. So when I do the one, because I will be doing one of these for justice, for the court action that we did, then for this I'll put Bureau, let's see, whoever the CEO is, which is going to be us. So I wouldn't put manager, I would put, and it's going to look, whatever, I could actually put fiduciary.
Okay.
Fiduciary, trustee, attorney, and fact, because those are the documents that we did with regard to the Bureau for Fiscal Services. So when I do theirs, it will be done that way. And then we send it, because guess what? We're the National Bureau for Fiscal Service. So when we do things like this and we forward it, they already know that we know who we are, we know where we stand, and we know that as sovereigns, all offices of the national government belong to the Moors.
Yeah.
And since since we're just now knowing all of this or remembering all of this, we put ourselves in those offices and positions as often as we see fit for whatever it is that we're doing, because a sovereign we can be the Supreme Court who issued the order to the National Sheriff's Office, and then be the sheriff, and then be the fiduciary, and it's almost like we're speaking to ourselves, because we're not talking to anyone else.
Part.
Because that's what they were doing, except they got to the point where they said, okay, well, we'll just hire actors to be in those offices. So then the names changed.
That part, because I've been noticing on their websites, they always put acting now, acting such and such, acting such and such, because they know that they've been acting. Yeah. And so next question. In regards to the document, the other one where we go over the accounts and the G thing account and such, how would we, so for, because there's like hundreds of them here.
Right.
So to be specific, to know because it says Department of Justice and there's several, and so on and so forth, is like, do we close our eyes and pick, or do we have to know specifically to the point on the pin to know which one will be like the best one?
Let the Spirit lead you.
Okay.
Let the Spirit lead you. I looked at it and I actually changed it 3 times in order to get to the one that I got to, because I was thinking about what are we doing. At first, I had it as the the court system. Let's see, where is that one? There's one that is the sub-organization name is the Administrative Office of United States Courts.
Mm-hmm.
I had it as that one first because I was thinking Article 3 Supreme Court, but that's not where the court just spoke and said they don't have jurisdiction. And then another arm of the court said, okay, sheriffs, go and get them. Okay, and this is in the documentation. And again, we have to show the mapping of that. And so then something said, I said, well, but how do we get the credit to the Moore's account? How do we get it to them? Because I'm thinking about us, like how all of us, like how does this get? How do the violations and things and things that have happened? How do we specifically become compensated for that? And so then I changed it again, and I had it at the Treasury Department. But then,
that's what I chose.
Yeah, that's the one I chose because we know that Treasury Direct accounts are where the Moor can actually see that this is where the compensation for that event is. Okay, and so then I said, okay, well, let's make sure we funnel it all the way back to the Moors, and then that's where Treasury came from. You know, so I actually tuned into the spirit and just said, what are we trying to accomplish? We're not what we're trying to accomplish. What are we manifesting? We're manifesting that the Moors see the compensation for what they've been through.
Islam.
And I let the spirit just lead me on, okay, well, what does that look like? And I kept asking the spirit the questions of, well, if it looks like this, then what? And it led me to this. And then I said, okay, well, let me think it through a little further. So I just gave it some thought, and I said, okay. And this all happened within a matter of seconds. But I had to tune into my feelings. I had to tune into, what do we really want? We want relief for the Moors.
Islam.
We want the heirs to know that they're the heirs and see that manifested. Okay, let's see it manifested. Okay. And it led me to, okay, take it to the Treasury because you know that the heirs can access the Treasury. Yeah. So that's how you pick from I don't care if it's millions of things. Just let the spirit lead you. And your intention will come out in what you put.
Every time.
Every time. It will come out. And it will always be for the benefit of everyone. You know, when it's pure intention, we're each automatically going to benefit anyway when we do it for everyone. You know, so that's how I came to that. And then I thought about the things we've done in the past and how it connects. You know, we actually had to create, manifest the sovereign treasury. And we really essentially created it for this dimension, even though it's connected to the ancient treasury that our ancestors put in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is how we make our way through all that we're doing, is when we don't know the answer, we tune into our heart chakra and we start thinking, how is it going to help everybody? And how can the Moors do it without feeling like they have to come through us? How can they do it themselves? Well, they can access their own treasury accounts by using their state security numbers. You know, that's how I find my way through all of this. And the ancestors just and every time I think that way, the answer comes with precision. And they even give options. They say, okay, well, you can do it with this treasury that says west, or you can do it with the treasury that says east because Maryland is in the east, or you can do it with the general one because they're all the same anyway. Look at the address on there. They're the same. Thinking with my heart, as well as the matter that the ancestors have given us. You know, that's how we find our way through all of this. And it's a piece of cake when we do it that way. It gets to be so easy that it's like, wait till the Moors see this. This is great. You know, we're getting the answers, you know, that we've been looking for. And all we have to do is be patient, be patient, be patient. It's manifesting. Because I will say this too, and I was having this conversation a couple of times over the last few days, that the Moors that are patient and just hold on. Because see, the even the court jesters, they're wanting to get you to thinking that, oh, look, it hasn't happened yet. Look, it hasn't happened yet. Look. Then we know that it's a key there. It's a key. That we do the opposite of what they're trying to point us to. We do the opposite of that. We think opposite of what they're talking about. So we know, okay, let's be patient and just walk through it together. And then, you know, I'm so grateful for the empresses and emperors who send us information, because we can be studying something like this chart, this thing, that this spreadsheet that's on the screen, and it never fails. The empresses and nobles will start sending stuff, and sometimes I'm thinking to myself, oh, I don't have time to look at that. The ancestors will always say, make time to look at it, light, because it's in connection with what you're doing. And I say, okay. And if I don't have time, then when I go back and look at it, it's like, okay, we can show them this next time. So, you know, the information is coming from different places, and now the empresses that I mentioned earlier and many others are our energies are coming together, and it's like we're all looking in that same direction, you know. So empresses out there, just, you know, we're all one. We're together, all of us. And nobles, you know, we ain't going nowhere without our nobles, because they're kicking doors in while we do what we do with this finance piece especially. So we just be patient and look. And that was a long answer to your question, Empress, of how do you choose? Anytime I have a choice to make, I refer to my heart chakra, and then my studies. My studies come heart chakra first, because their ancient ancestral energies are there, and then my studies second.
Yes, Mom, yes.
And then you all third.
Yes.
We can't go wrong. We can't make any mistakes. I mean, I've been thinking about the things, the demonstrations, and I'm like, because we are separate, we can't make any mistakes. We can do it the way we do it. Yeah. That was a beautiful question, Empress.
Gratitude.
I'm grateful for it, because it just lifted my energy even higher, if that was even possible. So, oh man, this is great. Okay, so let me see. I want to put something else there. And this spreadsheet, Moors, there is nothing, no information that's not already out there for us to see and to do, to look at, and to restate and everything. And this particular chart right here, restatement is not necessary, as it were, except that we just go through and change, you know, the organization names. But it's going to happen. We have time to do all that we need to do, you know. And this is actually how we employ our nation. This is how we employ our nation. This is how we govern everything. We govern it the way we've been governing everything. You know, we work. We work. What do you do for work? What do you do for work? So, now, so is it clear how If I can expand on this any further, I will be happy to do so, on what was going on in the background. This is what they were doing. These offices, sheriff's offices, policy enforcers were doing it. Anyone who came, fake courts were doing it, and so, but they were reaping the quote unquote benefits from these actions. So now it's like, okay, well, let's see how we can get this so that the heirs can do it. And I will say this about these, because I'm feeling this in my spirit. There are some heirs that if they had 1 million credits, we would lose them. So those that are competent to get their credits from the Treasury, the ancestors are going to give them the information to do that. And those that are not ready quite yet, it will be there. It'll still be there. But they won't suffer, because that main Treasury is going to take care of all of us, like it's always taking care of all of us. But we didn't realize that we were the ones in control of that. So no one will go hungry. There won't be anyone without domiciles. There won't be anyone without conveyances and all the things that we desire and that we know is ours. The main pot of the Treasury is dispersed by reconstructing the format. So, for example, there are Moors who are great at business. Okay, restate. Go to the small business websites, the SBA, Small Business Administration website. Pull the application for small business finance, because you're going into your own trust anyway. But this will ensure that the trust is managed properly by you. And restate that form. Restate it. No one can tell you no. Restate it properly. And then send it forth with the proper connection to the bank account. And that's how you get the resources from your own trust. That's what everybody else was doing. And in that prior era, we were pretending to be minors, So now we know we're not minors. So what do? And it's, again, more, please think, it's not a loan like a debt. It is proper management of your account. You want to pay your own account back because you want everything to grow. You want to see profits from your business. You want to have A1 credit with your own self. You want to prove that to yourself, not to anybody else, to yourself, that you know what to do with the talents that are given to you. And when I say given and talents, I'm talking about in the spirit realm and in the mental. And then you use those and arm, leg, arm, head, Allah, to get what it is you want from your vast estate. And you grow it, and you grow it by your own hand. And so that's what all of this that we're doing is about. So we get a fresh start, or what feels like a fresh start, when we competently abolish the debt by way of the National Treasury. And again, abolishment of debt, our documentation that we've put on the public record thus far has been what that's for. And then use this information right here to map everything right on back to your Treasury direct account, which is by way of the sovereign state security number, okay, the state security number, and then you send that forth. But you're doing it, for example, I can take the 10,000 that's been restated from quote unquote federal way, in addition to the 100 million that was restated by the Supreme Court for the violations and all of that craziness, that the POW demonstration, which I thought was awesome. I can take that and pull from it and direct anything like direct the bank, which is us, to pull enough from that with a business plan. Okay, so I'll put my sea salt business plan together with the amounts and what's going to happen with those amounts, put the business plan together, and then present that to the bank. And again, we're the bank, but we send it out and notify the subjects. And then we look at what loan programs are available through the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and we say, okay, this is the amount that we're pulling from our sovereign estate, and this is what we're going to do with it. And that is actually something that I'm going to be working on, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to put it all together, but it's been being put together on the public record already. We've already shown how we do things with the sea salt and so on and so forth, but we have to know now about, the machinery that we need, which I know is not difficult, because I already know we're a major, huge, gigantic desalination. They call it a desalination plant. There's one at the San Juan Islands, and there's one at Southern Khalifa Territory. And these large desalination plants pull the salty seawater in, pull the salt out of it, and they use the water that's left to send it to the people to drink. Well, we would be doing the opposite of that. We want the salt out of the water to use the salt, And so we put together a business plan for that to happen on a massive scale, because the desalination plants are plants that our ancestors were using. They've been in place for many, 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 many years. And they're huge. The desalination plant that I saw at Khalifa Territory is huge. And it pulls so much valuable salt out. But guess what they were doing with the salt and stuff? Sending it back out to sea. And I'm like, we could have been using that instead of that lab created stuff. We could have been using that. So this is, again, more as we're putting together the processes by which we properly govern in our vast estate and manage it. So with that being stated, again, this is the National Sheriff's Office that was routing things back and forth. So, for every bond that was signed, and they would send a bond, if they signed a bond, they would send it or whatever. So for us, what we do in order to be where we are and do the things that we're doing and move our commerce forth is we create our own bonds. When we create our own bonds, no one else can be creating bonds and talking about taking somebody, and detaining someone and all of this. No, we restate our own, and then we use our bonding authority. So the bonds, because they're created by the land, because we're the land, the bonds are automatically keeping everything solidified on the land. And then we can do admiralty with the money and the courts, and we can do all of that with the courts, but it has a land foundation, because there is land underneath all the water. So we stay on the high seas doing whatever commerce we want to do. We stay on the high seas. We are the high contracting parties, and we're contracting with each other. Credits going back and forth everywhere. So with that being stated, are there any questions or comments regarding this process for your study and implementation in your own, for your own estate?
Islam, I have another one. So for the Treasury Direct, we briefly went over that at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was needing to be reformatted, the document. So I think there was a code that was necessary to get that. Has that been stated which particular code we were using, or?
Those codes are actually presented here. The series, is that what you're referring to? The series of the bond? Now we've moved now from the major distribution of $1 million bond to now we can actually restate that bond and call it a savings bond. It's a savings bond as long as it's being saved, and then we can pull from that. Now, the code that you're referring to is going to be, when you go to the Treasury Direct website, here, let's go there. And I'll just pull up a bond, okay, so that I can see which code you're referring to. And again, this site right here is their site. You see their flag? That's their banner, rather. That's their. This is their side. We have our side. Our side is the side that's not shown. We show our side. But let's look. Let's look and see. And they've made some changes to this inventory bond. They made some changes just since we've been started doing bonds even. It says you can create an inventory of paper bonds and check their values over and over in the future without re-entering information. See, they knew we were going to be creating our own bonds. Mm-hmm. There's the proof. You can create an inventory of paper bonds and check their values over time. Did anyone ever know that we could create our own bonds? No one ever said anything. So no one ever told us. No one ever told us. Let me see. I know there's a way to get to the calculator without search for. Oh, this is the one I wanted. Mature savings bonds. Okay. This is what I was looking for right here. So, and again, this is not. Just one moment. Okay, I'm going to choose. I think it's.
Your sister Donna must be rolling in her grave for your shit.
Just a moment. Oh, they knew they had to speak quickly. Speak fast or you'll be booted. Okay, let's see. I'm going to choose Michigama because that is where we were. For the criteria that you entered. Just one moment. Oops. Okay, they may have cleared everything out of here. I don't know, because we're creating our own bonds. Let me just see. Yeah, I think everything is cleared. There is no need to search. The following has occurred. Okay, let me go here. Boy, they changed everything here. Just a moment. Let me see if I can find E-bonds. More about E-bonds. Compare E to I. Historical and retired bond savings. This is some good information, Morris. Living estate where a court has appointed a legal guardian for someone who owns bonds. This and this is some study information that we use. Study information. I'm trying to pull up the calculator. And if I can't find it now, this is all changed from what it was before, but I'm not surprised. It should be changed. Just a moment. Okay, I'll try this one more time, and then if I don't find anything, we'll move on. But I did want to. You see here, and I'll just stop here for just a moment. Legal representative is a general term for someone whom a court appointed to act on behalf of either. That's why we don't say the word representative, because a court has to appoint a representative on behalf of someone else, whereas we are the court, so we present ourselves. And the all caps is someone that has been declared unable to handle their own affairs. All caps cannot handle their own affairs, so we do it. Okay. I can't find what I'm looking for. So, okay. I can't find what I'm looking for, Empress. I wanted to pull up a series of bonds just so that I could see what number you were talking about, because you asked about a number. The only number that would be used where bonds are concerned generally is a state security number or a this number, tax payee identification number. This number is a number for that whole account. All accounts are connected to this number. And when I say this number, this is the number for let's say for me example, but for you it would be your 9-digit state security number or sovereign security number, which is the same sequence of numbers as the social. That's the only other number that I can think of, Empress, with regard to bonds, the Treasury and savings bonds, or any kind of bonds, really. Hopefully that answers your question about that number.
Islam.
That's all.
So that answers that question. In regards to opening up the account, and because it was like another number that they had asked for. I can't find it now, but
well, when
it
you
was
find
like
it,
in the form that we have to recreate the application.
okay. I'm not sure which number you're referring to, but since you brought up the form, is it on this form that you're?
No, it's the Treasury Direct, and how to create the account to have things to be the special vehicle.
The special purpose vehicle is the state security number.
Okay, so we don't have to create an account with that third party, the Treasury Direct.
So bank accounts, any bank account that you have, any of those it would be the third party.
Oh, okay.
Are you referring to the EIN?
Well, because we had spoke, Empress, and you had said a 4-digit number, and I looked, and I did think I saw.
Oh, you're talking about for banks themselves. So let's take a look at that. Let's see.
Your brother Michael has discussed it with you.
It's the actual. Just one moment. It's the actual. Just one moment. Okay, it's the actual. It's Chapter 9000 of the Treasury Manual that you're referring to. So let's just take a look at that.
Your brother Michael, the Baptist minister.
Okay. Let's see what that is. Oh, found you. Gotcha. Now you got to get out. Let's see. Chapter 9000. Let me see. Securing government deposits in federal entity accounts. Yeah, this is it right here. This is what you're referring to with regard to our discussion. Chapter 9000 of the Treasury Financial Manual. And again, we can restate this and edit according to our will. This chapter prescribes federal entity requirements for securing public money on deposit at depositories. It says when a federal entity places funds on deposit with a financial institution, the financial institution must pledge collateral under conditions prescribed in this chapter. The pledging of collateral by a financial institution is necessary to protect the federal government against risks of loss. State, local, and municipal deposits are not covered under this chapter. So this is for state, local, and municipal deposits are not covered under this chapter. At any time, we can restate this and say that they are covered under this chapter. Okay? And that's another reason why I wanted us to take a look at it. The 4-digit number that you were referring to is mentioned right here, 9025.50 Fiscal Service. Okay? Now, this thing lists different types of accounts. It says assign fiscal service must assign and maintain the account numbers and provide federal entity information to the Federal Reserve Bank so that the Federal Reserve Bank may establish accounts. Establish the collateral policy, establish and maintain lists of acceptable collateral and assign margins. Periodically update the criteria and guidance for acceptable collateral and applicable margins. See the Treasury Direct website. This is the one that you were referring to. And it talks about the and when I looked through these accounts are for actual banks, okay, which is us. We're banks. And it brings you back to this same page that we were just on with regard to that. So let me see if I'll just search V accounts and see if anything comes up. Okay. Bank. When we use the word bank, we are including banks, credit unions, savings loans, trust companies, and other financial institutions where you can pay money. You can put money in, deposit money, and take money out. They say when they use the word bank, they're explaining what that means. When we use the word bank, we're talking about us. But let's see, Treasury. Treasury bond or T-bond. Let me see if V account is here. No, V account is not listed here. You grant view rights to someone for a Treasury marketable security you hold. Yeah. Okay, so those accounts are not explained here. So then we can take what we know based on what we see here on the screen at 9.0 in the Treasury manual and create those accounts. I will say this about these accounts. Here, to acquire a V account, federal entities must fill out and submit the TCMM Agency Access Authorization Form. Each federal entity must use its V account to establish an account at an authorized depository. Also, federal entities use their V accounts in TCMM for managing their collateral requirements. Federal Service assigns federal entity account numbers. Fiscal Service, rather, assigns federal entity account numbers. So because we are Fiscal Service, these accounts are accounts that have to do with property and things like that, and properly assigning values to property. So banks. A bank account is actually an account held by a bank. It's a bank account. You know, a lot of times they had us thinking when we say bank account, it meant in our sleep, we thought it meant our account. But in our sleep, it meant bank account as in it's the bank's account, not yours. With what we're doing, it's the opposite. Bank account means each one of us, we are the bank. And then together, we do things where the state is concerned, where the federal is concerned, and where the National Sheriff's Ministry is concerned, and all of that. But there's a difference. We have to know the difference between what we're doing as individuals and what we're doing as the state. So this Islam. Is where you, yes, Islam.
I just looked at that because I had looked at that document to create a V account. It's a one-page document, and you know, clearly it has to be reformatted. But It says Section 1, General Information, create security account, delete security account, add new users, delete users. And then Section 2, Agency Information, agency name, name of bureau. So this is the same information that we just had went over on the previous document, essentially.
Mm-hmm. A lot of this stuff, Empress, we've already done. We just have to know we've already done it. And when we read this kind of thing, it just affirms that, yep, we already have those.
So we can take this same document that we did, because it's the same information, and just, you know, put them on notice with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with that, what you do want to do also is take the fiduciary form that we did for the is this the form you're looking at, Empress?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all we have to do with these types of things is send the same documents we've been sending out, just send them to these places. And this is an email address, so we can do it this way. Restate the form. Send also, remember the fiduciary document that we did for fiscal services, okay? And then now we're back at this document because we said we were going to come back to this document. This document, request by fiduciary for distribution of United States Treasury securities. This document and the one, this other one that we just looked at, this one, Treasury Collateral Management and Monitoring. Again, a lot of this information is already done. A lot of this is done by the Moors already, because we've already established who we are, and that the things that we need to do are already in the system. And so now we're just using that system. Let's see. For example, Treasury Collateral Management and Monitoring Agency Authorization Form. This document that we did, nope, not that one. This document right here, having one of these forms restated for this document, where we're showing you the map of where the money is going. Follow the money. We're not following money, we're creating money. Showing where it's going from this place to this place to this place, and then to the Moors. At any particular time or moment in time, we can inject any of these processes into what we're doing. And the fact that the Fiscal Service and the Treasury speak to each other or work together, any way that you want to do this, you can do it, Moors. As long as it's restated, if you want to access your some a savings bond or something, or a bond that was created by way of an action where you were detained or something like that, when you want to access those, you want to look at this Fiscal Services Manual, see what's there, and also look back at these videos that we've been putting forth, because we're literally walking through that process right now, even with the bonds that we created. We're walking through that process. So look at the process, look at what these links that we put in the chat, do the study on them, and then start creating your bonds and sending them out so you can see what that demonstration looks like. So these V accounts, I will tell you that the bank accounts that we have already probably been converted to. I'm not even not clear about that. They've already been converted to V accounts. Because I sent those documents, I uploaded them to both accounts, the one that I have at where the custodians at Navy Federal, and then also the custodians, and we're the custodians, we know that, the subjects at USAA. I uploaded my fiscal services, fiduciary, and attorney-in-fact document, and many other documents. I've uploaded them there. And, we're pretty sure that based on what we're seeing here, that we've done all that needs to be done with regard to V accounts, converting it to V accounts. Remember, and this is something I was saying when we were talking about these V accounts, remember when, for those who were in the military, and we stated this before, remember those who were in the military, they would always ask for your last four digits of your social in order to access anything. That's the 4 digits.
Wow.
That's the 4 digits. And then anyone who needs any backup or substantiation in terms of you want to look in the law and see where we are able to do that, 12 CFR, the Code for Federal Regulation is a great book to look at, especially where fiduciary responsibility is concerned. When you're operating at the level of banking institutions like we are, and Federal Reserve and Treasury, we supersede those levels, but we're now operating at, making things happen there. The CFR is a great place to go for anything that has to do with custodians, anything that has to do with fiduciaries, and our ability to manage and govern our own vast estates with regard to these large amounts of credits. So take these resources and use them, study them, restate the forms, and more at any time you can pick a form and restate it and implement it for your estate. Where it says things like this, minority bank deposit program, we have the transfers for minors piece. The all caps is a minor. We're the fiduciaries for said all caps, which is a minor. The fiduciaries are the majority or the adults in the situation. And so we govern the all caps and tell it which resources to go get and use and whatever. Okay. So, Empress, do you see all that's regarding the V accounts and where to look?
Yep. And I also saw how it said the 250,000 credits would be for the insurance, and how and why that would be put into a V account, because that's essentially what they were doing on our behalf, because we were considered minors. They would automatically, attach that, but they wouldn't let us know that. And then, act as our, trustees and so on and so forth. Yes, that part. So when you turn it into a proper V account and you are the fiduciary and attorney, in fact, that 250,000 would automatically appear in your account. Makes sense. And then another thing I was wanting to say, I can't remember at the moment. They'll come back to me.
Okay. Just one moment. Just as a side note and just as a little something fun that I just wanted to, a little minor detail that I wanted to share with you. When I put when I uploaded my Bureau for Fiscal Services, let me make sure that there's not a black screen here. When I uploaded the Bureau for Fiscal Services documents to, just one moment, to my USAA account, and this is just a random something that I wanted to show you. Just one moment, let me pull it up. I looked and this came in my email. Just one moment, let me show you this. One moment. This came in my email from USAA, and it showed the subject with a V in his palm and a 5-pointed star. He put a 5-pointed star and a V and something else in the palm of his left hand, which was, I just found that interesting. And it was supposed to be, it came as something like a VA something or other.
Oh yes, I remember what I was going to say. When we was looking over the document, was showing all the codes and such, I noticed it said Congress, and the Congress account had yet been activated, and so that, along with the document that we have read together today, saying that the Congress has, it was talking to the corporate, but signaling us to continue to do what we've been doing as far as the work is being done.
Yeah.
So that I expect to see that Congress one activated very soon.
What you see on the screen and the things that are out there is how they notify their Masonic brethren of where we are. So the activation of the V accounts, when I uploaded that stuff to the Fiscal Services piece, this came in my email, so I kind of knew then that, okay, we got past that part. Now let's move forward and keep going. And so a lot of the things that have to do with things that we've done in the past is already done. A lot of that is already done. A lot of it's been done already. And then when we read, that this, this is how you do this and this is how you do that, we think back and we think, okay, we already did all that. We did all that. Islam, Empress.
I was looking at the blanket in the background of the picture as well.
Oh, yeah. I meant to point that out. Thank you for catching that. Yes. It is a banner, and it is not the right colors. This is like the dead one over here. It's a banner. And this is the subject that, we did a lien on them acting in a corporate capacity a while ago. And they got in subject status as commanded, and they've been, just assisting along the way here and there. But we do everything. We do everything that, I could show you some things about that account that's just, not even my financial consul could believe that I was able to do some things that I've been able to do with these accounts, in terms of proper naming of them and all of that, Yeah, so he was, this was supposed to be, they were using this as some type of they said it was a Veterans Day message, but it came almost too late. I mean, within 24 hours of me uploading that, this came in the mailbox, that they had put this on the public record. So I just took it to mean what I knew it meant, them letting their Masonic brethren know that something came that way. And you all get those same types of messages and things too, I'm sure, where you get affirmation that what you did was what was supposed to be done, So with that being stated, are there any other questions or comments or wisdom about the route that the money takes in order to get to the Moors, to the Treasury Direct account? And then the Treasury Direct account can be accessed at the bank, but we're looking at that process and ensuring that we don't necessarily have to go to a bank because we are the bank. And so with the right documentation and paperwork, we can access it with our documents as well. It doesn't have to go, you don't have to go into a bank and talk to anybody because they're not the bank, we are. So we're just going to keep looking at the processes and keep demonstrating. We've issued bonds and all of this, and we're just going to keep demonstrating it and let the ancestors continue to show us the information. Islam.
I noticed you have there's a contact person at the bottom of the letter that you're showing.
Yeah, I just put something there, but I could have put my own appellation there. All of this is just I filled in the blanks with random information here, just to give you an idea of the mapping of where bonds were going and how bonds were being used. This is the part we didn't see. We didn't know how were they making money off of continuing to detain people. So we just put this together so that you could see the route that it takes and how they do it and how we do it. Islam. So, Islam and
Joshua and Jamaica.
Yes.
I was looking at some older videos, and I realized that many things we're not doing anymore. But my question is, I was looking at property documents, and then you had the treasury check that took care of the property repossession, or how did those, because the numbers are different on those treasury checks, how do they relate to this treasury, or do they not, or do they?
They absolutely do. That's a beautiful question. Thank you for that question. So the treasury checks that were created, the state security number connects all of that together. Just like in banking.
Right.
It doesn't matter which bank you bank with. The state security number is going to direct it right to the right place.
That's the transmitting utility, or this.
Islam! Oh, that's good. That is exactly what it is. So everything that we've done in the past, this is just putting it all together. And that's why we had to have, and we didn't have to have it, but that's why we chose to have state security numbers. We knew we couldn't use social security numbers.
Right.
But we want access to we don't want it, but we desire access to our estate, and we desire to do commerce and things and see the building up of our estate. So we have those numbers.
So yeah,
as
like
tools.
The vehicle, as you say it.
It is a special purpose vehicle, and that's why we went ahead and created the birth certificate bonds under our own United States Corporation Company.
Correct.
We're building our estate.
So let me ask, original stay with us. Do we actually, other than placing that bond on the public record, the birth certificate bond I'm talking, it doesn't go anywhere else. We put it on the public record, and that's okay.
And then every time you refer to either the birth name, the all caps name, or the state security number, it's automatically bonded, it's automatically insured, and it's automatically a part of the record of your estate.
Okay.
Your banking and everything.
Another question. So I have multiple state security numbers. I have, because there's a different one here in Jamaica. There was one in the UK, and then of course the North America, the States. I can do I need to do 3 different bonds? I mean, just with the different numbers on them, or because I do know that they all go back to the same, all caps.
So that's up to you. However you see fit to do it. Empress, is your vast estate.
That's true. Correct.
It is your vast. It's vast.
Right.
So for those who have just that one number, they can use it in Japan. They can use it at UK. They can use it everywhere. You just happen to have one for each one. Okay. And it's up to you.
In the sleepy one, I mean, I didn't know, but now I understand, and I have that sense that it could go everywhere. It's a universal.
It is universal.
Another question. So we have treasury checks, and we have bonds, and we have different
a financial system and economic life. Okay, go ahead.
It's so it really comes down to personal choice for which instrument you use for which particular.
Yes, we're just putting the options on the table that the Moors govern their own vast estates. We're just saying you can use a merchant card if you want to use a merchant card. You can use checks, treasury checks if you want to use treasury checks. You can use bonds if you want to use bonds. If you want to cash the bonds in, then you create a treasury check to cash the bond in, as long as you're matching it up with the documentation, and then you go deposit it in the bank.
And there you go. And we do that all electronically. I mean, we don't have to go.
It can be documentation, paper. We don't have to go. We can do that, all of that from where we are. We can mail it out, email, however we want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I want to take a look along the lines of that question as well. This document here that we said we were going to come back to, FS Form 1455, that we will be restating. We won't use it in this position right here. We'll restate it. I want to call your attention to this line up here. Case or SR number. This is how you know that these are all court actions, because you see the word case right here. So even when people were on probation, parole, welfare, whatever, if you had a case worker, they were actually doing court actions and fiduciary actions and all of that. And that's why they kept saying, you have to come back and see your case worker. They were pretending to be a court. But now we don't need that. That's why we don't have to do probation, parole, and this, that, and the third. We govern our own vast estates. And we show competence there. So reason for distribution, let's look, we're just going to tiptoe through this a little bit. One or more fiduciaries, individual or corporate, must use this form to request distribution of treasuries, securities to the person lawfully entitled, and they use the word person because that's that's why we had to do things in propria persona sui juris first, then persons can appear. A natural person, a living person, lawfully entitled. Empress Rosetta, I want to thank her for continuing to put forth that we are entitled, not just beneficiaries, we're entitled. Due to, because entitlement is a higher, that means that you have a noble title. You can be an entitled beneficiary or an entitled fiduciary. Due to distribution of a trust or an estate or other reasons set out in the instructions. The reason for the distribution, the reasons for the distribution is, and again, you don't have to say light bill, phone bill, new conveyance, new domicile, college, whatever, university, whatever. Moorish temple, you don't necessarily need to do that. You can just say a distribution for an estate and trust to the person lawfully entitled or other reasons. Let's see, and again, it's going to say person entitled throughout this document, which is, I think, great language. Distribute to, name of first distributee, social security number or employer identification number. We know we restate that. Okay. Description of securities, and it can be, again, if it's a birth certificate, bond, the issue date, the face amount, the identifying number is going to be the state security number. And then registration is whenever you put it on the public record, and then you can send notification to the subjects previously doing business as the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, if you choose to, to do it that way. If you want to split a marketable security, so you want to take part of your birth certificate money out, which is recommended, by the way, to take part of it out and use that to start a business or do whatever you want to do with regard to it, then you can do that. Okay. Individual savings bonds may not be split. Individual ones may not be split. But remember, your birth certificate bond is not an individual thing. It's a state document that you, the state, governs. We can always accomplish more using the state than any individual could ever do. Okay? And the state was actually using birth certificates and stuff of minors to do things, creating bonds and such and whatnot. Okay. And so the bond document that we just showed a little earlier, this letter right here, is saying put the money in the account. That's what it's saying, put the money in the account. And then this, and then when we restate this document right here, this is saying tribute or distribute the money. And again, we're just restating. And look here, sign and ink in your fiduciary capacity in the presence of a certifying officer and provide the requested information. And again, our stamps and seals and things are our certifying officer. We are our certifying officer as sovereigns. I certify that the all caps whose identity is known or proven to me personally appeared before me this day at whatever, and then I will see, I could put Pauline Denise Ritchie in all capital letters, appeared before me this day, and then as the signature and certifying officer, I do that in capitis diminutio minima. which means first letter capitalized, the rest of the letters all lowercase. So yes, that minor can appear before her master, which is the state. And then here, look at these amounts here. When it comes to registration, let's talk about that for a minute. Registration of these amounts, for example, when the quote-unquote City of Federal Way, and again, we restated that as Federal Way or Federal Way City, whatever their quote-unquote registration is, we just restate it. So we don't have to register this with any, we just have to put it on the public record and state that it is registered. And then if you'll notice, they use the state security, we would be using our state security number as the registration number. Back to Empress Shasha's question about the use of that number. So you do want to streamline. No matter what the security is, it's going to come back to that number. No matter what bank account, no matter what cause for action, no matter what it is, the QSIP number is going to be, let's say, the case number. But it's always going to be registered to the heir, or not in this case, the minor, the all caps, with the state security number. Okay, and then electronic marketable security, this would be the bank account number. Okay, and the all caps with the state security number or sovereign security number here. And again, we don't use our sovereign security numbers, we use our state security numbers. The difference being one is red and one is blue. So we use the blue numbers to do things like this. Okay. And here's a check that's being distributed. So I could even write myself a check. I used to see my mother do that, write herself a check. I could write myself a check from my estate. But you have to justify that amount to yourselves. You have to justify. For example, if I wrote a $10,000 check, I could write a $10,000 check, but I have to show where that $10,000 came from. Well, in this case, it would come from the restatement of the bonds that Federal Way did. The restatement of those bonds. So then I could literally use that as backup for writing a $10,000 check. And then if there were any punitive damages or anything else issued by the Supreme Court, I can monetize that. I can pull from that. At any time, I could pull from any of those issues and things that have happened. I have some Veterans Administration things that I need to bring full circle. And once I bring them full circle with this restatement of the paperwork and the documents, I can write a check and pull from that and provide that as documentation for the check. For a conveyance or a domicile or whatever, or to get the business, keep the business going and things like that. Okay. If an entitled person wants payment of paper marketable securities not held electronically, the fiduciary must complete the assignment on the reverse of the security. As fiduciaries, that's why that document is number 6 of our foundational document. The fiduciary document, and then you do a corporate fiduciary document. And by corporate, we mean a restatement. Okay. That is why this was so important. And again, we're just making it so that the credits and the funds make their way to the Moors so that we're able to competently govern our vast estate. Okay. Are there any questions or comments about any of that? Hopefully we have shown you how to govern and how to put these things in action, and we're doing it at the same time that the information is being shown to us. We're actually implementing it. We must. Any questions, comments, wisdom? Let me make sure that everybody can speak if they want to. Just a moment. Yeah, you can star 6 if you have any questions or comments. If not, we have basically come full circle on how the bond process works, how to implement it, how to tribute it, what they're used for. And there is a difference between savings bonds and then the bonds that are issued, let's say, for states, but not really. Because, for example, the bonds that were issued where the state has an interest in the preliminary hearings that we just had, those bonds, one can go to the account of the heirs affected. A restatement, not a restatement, but it's almost like double booking, but not really. It's FDIC booking. So another $1 million would go into the state's coffers, or the federal government's coffers, the state and the federal. And that's why state and federal were both. So Maryland has some interest there, and so does the United States. So the United States interest will go into their coffers. So like when that amount was sent to the Treasury, there was an FDIC insuring on that amount sent to the Treasury, and then when that amount was sent from the Treasury, when that amount was sent to the sheriff's office, that was $2 million regarding our preliminary hearing for the sheriff's office, and the FDIC insured that amount. And then when it was sent from the sheriff's office to the Treasury, that amount was also insured. So the insuring of it, that was $4 million in insurance just between those two transactions for that number. So technically, the one action, one account number could be recreated and reinsured any number of times based on where it's transferred to and how it's used. And then that amount, when it is sold on the stock market, it also creates wealth. It also creates wealth for the main pot, the public treasury. So let's just keep going. Islam, Empress.
So, with that stated, bookkeeping and the knowing how to and when and where bookkeeping, as far as the spreadsheets for that would be created. If just listening to that, what you just stated, it's seeming like the next step would be like to have a congressional meeting on just stating when you do this, it's recommended you create this account record and state it in such manner, thus and so, just for accounting. And because it's a lot, and to know, like, okay, so when you take it here, it generates this interest and or insurance, and you add this for that and that and that, so on and so forth, because we as a collective government need to be competent in all of that.
Keeping. Yeah, we need record keeping is key. So that's why the prophet said what he said about 16 secretaries.
Yes.
He said that. He knew that it was going to be quite a bit of paperwork. So, I mean, for example, with just that one transaction, there are 4 offices that need to record that. A minimum of 4 offices. There's the National Sheriff's Office. There's the Supreme Court who issued the ruling. There's the Bureau for Fiscal Service. And then there's the Treasury, and then the FDIC. So 5 offices involved in this in recording of this transaction, because each office is recreating it, and revenue is going into their coffers. Now for us,
Islam, I'm sorry. When you when you put it on the market, that's another account then too, right?
Yes, and then if it becomes a part, whoever, depending on who buys it, buys that bond and how they hold it, or whether they bundle it and send it someplace else or sell it or whatever, it's even more.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's even more. It's even more bookkeeping and record keeping and things like that, and that's why the government had so many could employ so many millions. We employed millions of people. And everybody was pushing paper, except a few, except the executive branch.
You have a question. You can ask a question.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. How do you get on and ask a question? I hit raise hand.
We can hear you, Nobility. We can hear you. I was just actually waiting to.
I'm on the screen.
Yeah, you're here. We can hear you.
On the chat. Okay. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, we can hear you. Do you have a question, Nobility?
Yes, Islam.
Islam.
I'm fairly new.
Islam.
The Treasury documents you pulled up maybe about 2 years ago was with another quote-unquote Moorish group. We were studying those particular documents. We filled them out according to the instructions. Of course, we didn't get anything, as you shared with everybody. I also emailed.
Yeah.
I emailed because I started from the beginning. Name change. I sent to the government at gmail.com. And I also sent the ID they designed and issued for us. I domicile in Florida territory. So, thirdly, I'm a veteran as well. Not that knowledgeable on as far as acquiring the accounts that's relevant to me as a veteran.
Okay. So it's very simple with regard to the accounts. You actually already have them. You just need to restate them. They just need to be restated. And restatement starts with declaring your nationality. And once you've done that, then you can start restating. And by restating, all we mean is look at the documents that you use to fill out, to get those accounts going. Look at those documents, and if there's anything in those documents that needs to be, and there will be, restated, you just recreate the document and then send it. You recreate the document, because when you recreate the document, then that means that you're governing the document, because you're the author. The author is the authority of the document.
So when you say recreated, does that include the DD 214?
Yes, and I actually have to restate that one as well. I have not been in a rush to do that just because of all the other fiduciary work that we're doing, and the state security number is restated. So the foundational documents that those benefits were based on has been restated. Therefore, that benefit is protected. But at any given time, that DD 214 does need to be restated because none of us are dead. Those are actually death documents, believe it or not.
I didn't know.
Yeah. And you know the photo that we all took when we went into the military where there was a banner behind us,
yes,
and we had our dress uniforms on, those are called death photos.
Unbelievable.
By them, they say it's a death picture, death photo. And I got that from my consort who did 30 years in the Army.
My dad did 27 years. I did 4.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I was good after about 3 point something. I was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, too, I've got about 6 flash drives. And maybe 6, 7 years ago, I was on the internet. I met a Moor. And he gave me some information and just walked off. So I went through all the information on the flash drive. I was like, what is this? So I found everything on the internet. Anything that looked interesting, that dealt with Moors, that dealt with banking, trusts, I put it on flash drives. I didn't know the relevance then. And the ancestors have been moving me full circle through different MEXIM conferences to your group, if you would.
Nation, government.
Yes. I'm very happy. I feel more, this is where I should be on this level. I lived in Japan. I picked up the language very easy, made friends, got back to the States, and everything's completely different. I was more happy over there when I traveled.
Yeah.
And I have a book also that deals with bonds and how the police department gets paid through these bonds.
Yeah.
And I like to take a photo of the page of the book and send it to.
We would love to see it.
Yes.
Because it's going to affirm what we just talked about and just showed today. It's going to affirm that that's how they were doing things. Yeah. We would love to see it because, you know, nobility, first of all, we're glad you're here. And also, it may seem like here is less pleasant, but it's about to get a whole lot better. We needed to wake up, and waking up is not always pleasant for the land, you know, for the people on the land. It's not always pleasant, but it's about to get so much better. You're gonna be like, I see why everybody wanted to come here.
Yes.
But see, you needed to be here. You needed to be here. We all needed to be here.
Yes, so much knowledge.
To make it happen, because we're the only ones who can do it.
We are the only ones.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
This is true.
So it might seem a little. It might seem a little bit now, but it's going to get so much better. The ancestors told me just the other day, and I mentioned this on our last call. They said no matter how good things get, we made it so that things can get even better. No matter how good you think it is. Because I'm already enjoying where I'm seeing all of the manifestations, and they said don't even get comfortable there because there's so much more we have for you all.
Well, whatever I can do to assist with my little information, I would truly send it. I guess it would be the .government@gmail.
thegovernment@gmail.com. You know, when we all bring our information together.
That's awesome.
It's a wrap on everything that we desire. But we had to come together like this. We had to come together like this, nobility.
Yes.
And no matter what you're going through, no matter what demonstrations you're doing, no matter what, just stay with us. Let's all stay together. Let's make that agreement to stay together. I'm in it for to win this. We already won,
Yes.
you know, and all we have to do is keep doing what we're doing, because nobody can even tell us how to govern. We get to do it the way we want to do it.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
One quick question.
Yes. No.
Are there any nobles, justices in Florida territory that I could connect with? Because I've been emailing, I've been calling messages from some of the phone numbers I see on your screen.
Yeah.
I've not got a call back. I do need some aid and assistance.
May I say something about that?
Please.
Sometimes, because see, there are no accidents and no coincidences. Sometimes the ancestors want us to. Sometimes they sequester us, and I've talked about that in the past, where for the first year of all of the demonstrations and the testing and everything, there were no Moors in this territory who came. The ancestors wanted me to stand on my own 2 feet first, then look to others to connect with. But when you talk about aid and assistance, they want us to know that they want. It's like a baby learning to walk.
Yes.
It's just like that. You got to let the baby go, and let the baby. Baby may even fall a few times, but baby's gonna be all right.
I know.
Learn to walk. And I'm not calling you a baby. You're mature and know who you are. But what I'm saying is that the sovereigns have to get centered in their sovereignty.
Yes, posted.
And that happens when we may not see other Moors who know who they are face to face for a moment. It won't last, but there is a time of sequestration for the Moors, where we have to actually get into our study and demonstrate at the level of our understanding, take it a step at a time, be patient, and let's do this together. And stay connected like this, because other energies, if there's always Moors around you, we're so energetically powerful that some of those energies will, they will spark, because we're still learning how to govern our power.
Yes.
And so the ancestors wanted us to center ourselves first, settle into our sovereignty, because it's something new. We didn't know. We didn't remember that we were as powerful as we are. And once we settle in and start exercising here and there, just take it a step at a time, a little bit at here, a little bit there, and we get to seeing our power, because there are some tests that come during that sequestration time. And we call them forth. It's nothing to be afraid of, because it won't come until you're ready. Testing does not come until you're ready. And when you're ready, it will come, and you'll do exactly. Just on instinct, but because of your study, you'll know what to do.
Yes. Very inspirational.
Yeah.
That Postmaster General clip,
yes,
I was blown. Unum Sanctum.
Yeah.
Because I used to listen to Taj repetitiously. Unum Sanctum, Unum Sanctum, Unum Sanctum. So I looked up the word, because I know it's Latin.
Yes.
And a good friend of mine from Grenada, she speaks fluent old Latin.
Yes.
So that's not a mistake.
Yeah, it's not. Now, in this time period, it's those that you can refer to. You can refer back to her and to, while you're not seeing more face to face just yet. When it's time, it will happen.
Yes.
It will happen. You will know it, and it will happen. And they will look for you when it's time. They're going to look for you.
Yes.
because Moors are at different places in their testing and in their knowing, and we actually have to have the space to test so that others' energies don't get put into what we're doing. Because sometimes other energies, even if they're positive energies, we have to step back and say, let me take this in to my spiritual filter.
Yes.
You know, without a narrative being put there, you know, that might, you know, some people, and I'm not saying that is bad. Yes, we come together. Each one of us is going to have different experiences, and the way those experiences relate, you know, how we relate to them, how we state them, you know, it's going to be beautiful, though. I know that.
Yes, I shall.
It's going to be beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for that. That spell that's beautiful. Very beautiful spell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Islam.
Yes, Islam indeed.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Islam, nobility.
This is Earl Julian Lloyd L., Kentucky Republic.
Welcome, nobility.
Thank you. I am new. The gentleman, the Moor that you were just talking to, is my brother.
Beautiful.
We are both new. Mm-hmm. My nationality documents are housed, recorded, Northeast Moorish American Consulate.
Beautiful.
I have just two questions, briefly.
Yes.
I found that in this journey, in this early beginnings, the great challenge is looking into this mortgage that contained what I was able to identify as serious fraud.
Yes.
And so I have been engaging in a writing campaign with them. I don't refuse to answer because I kind of know where that goes.
Yes.
So my most recent writing has to do with a co-warrantor demanding that they produce certain information. There were a total of 14. I gave them 10 days to respond. They have not responded.
Yes.
So what I am compelled to do is to give them 3 more days under a notice of default with opportunity to cure. Okay, that would be within the next day I'll be sending out. And thank you for a demonstration of the mail matter.
Yes.
I used that successfully.
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful. It works.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So, and then I was starting to listen and watch your videos that had everything to do with terminating all contracts. So I'm about to get that sent out as well. And so I'm open to any other things. I saw, and I'm just beginning to really get into taking fiduciary responsibility.
Yes.
Over various institutions, one of which would be this bank I have every intention on doing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
Follow that process. Okay.
May I offer a suggestion and this is going to be a long-term suggestion.
Okay.
As you rightfully take your office over the mortgage company, that those 14 documents that you wanted them to produce, that you produce them yourself and send them to them. You produce them. You produce your own. They can say what you want them to say, and then you send them to them. and say, you couldn't produce it because you're not real. You're the real government. You are. The Moor, you're the real government. So the real government can produce the document. And they don't have to be extensive. They can be short, simple affidavits to the point on the letterhead with a couple of, fiduciary changes to the logo.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a suggestion. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, just something to think about. Because the fact that those 14 documents were supposed to be somewhere and they haven't produced them and can't produce them and they're not going to, means now that you get to actually take complete control over that whole exchange, produce the documents yourself, and then you're going to take it a step further and show that that thing's been paid already because you're the Treasury too. Yeah. So just a suggestion. Okay. I loved when I hear those things. It's don't let it overwhelm you. You have time. Everything is going to be fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever stop. Even when you get a victory, don't stop doing what you're doing. Keep going. Yeah. We're so glad that both of you are here and whoever is with you as well. We are honored that you've decided to stay up with us and empire up with us. So,
absolute pleasure. May I ask one more question? Because I retired 8 years ago and assumed a new job part-time, of which I enjoy greatly.
Beautiful.
It requires me to produce a commercial driver's license.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and because I also was beginning to question this whole idea about taxing you on your labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in my own little study, I found that the IRS has a revocation of election process and documentation and narrative in there. And so I developed an affidavit that was sent to the IRS.
Yes.
Requiring them to produce the law that requires me to pay taxes off of my labor.
Yeah.
And I also sent to them a load of cases, the outcome of which revealed that there is no such law. They did not rebut or respond. They remained silent within the time frame given.
Okay. Yes.
With that, I finished it off with basically telling them that you have been defaulted because you haven't answered. And in law, being silent means you're in agreement to the fact that there is no law. Therefore, you have no authority to remove or to require the removal from an employer any amount of value from my labor. So that was taken care of on that end. And then according to what I knew at the time, I decided to take the tax form and redo it all over again at my employer and put in as exempt. I also wrote a letter restricting the employer from removing any value from my money that was generated from labor and place it on the record. I wanted that to be evidence to anyone who may investigate. And so he complied with that, and so that has been successful.
How long ago was that? That
was about 2 years ago.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, 2 years ago, and he's complied with that. So in addition to that, the retirement pension, I produced the same thing to the pension office, and they have stopped taking value out.
Beautiful.
which kind of makes no sense. You know, you're looking at something you've already paid into already, and they double tax you.
Yeah.
So, but that has been successful also for the past 2 years.
Beautiful.
Now, but there is something within me that says there's probably something, Earl, you need to do to solidify, to permanently seal this.
Yes.
So that these agents will not find or attempt to find a way to come back on you. And I'm thinking some of it lies within some of the processes that I have been watching in your videos.
A court action. So a court must speak. You are the court. You're the Supreme Court. And so you would just need to do a document from the Supreme Court saying that whatever it is solidified. It stands as law.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like a final decision, huh?
It is a final decision. It cannot be undone, reversed. It can't be any of that. It then becomes stare decisis and res judicata. It becomes the law for all, no matter what jurisdiction it is. It's the law for all of them.
Well, I in my thinking recently, I said, and I probably need to go in there and redo the application. To redo the application because there has been a name change. Obviously, my appellation is now reflected with my employer. The check that I receive is reflected as such. Although recently, the tax forms that they issue out every year, they somehow decided they wanted to leave the L off of the end of my appellation.
Well, any derivatives thereof, whatever you state, any derivatives of your appellation is still under your command. So it doesn't matter how they put it. That's why we say agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof. And that's for the credits or the debt. If we're speaking to debtors, it means the same thing for them. I'll say this about you going in and redoing applications and things. There is a document on the screen. If you're going to go in and redo documents and things, my suggestion would be, for example, we're going to be redoing this document right here. So I'm going to make some changes to the document right here on the screen so that you can see how we do that. For example, I'm going to take out the word of. It says request by fiduciary for distribution of United States Treasury securities. I'll take that word out and put the word for in there. And normally I would put all of it in blue, but just for the sake of what we're talking about right now, when you're going in and restating, and this is what we mean by restating all paperwork and applications and things like that. For all Moors, this is important that you speak from your own state and not from theirs. And that's why we don't use their forms. And normally I would just take all of this and just restate it all together, but for the sake of this, I just wanted to show you how we restate the forms so that you can, because there's no form out there. The reason they call them an application form or a form for this and a form for that is because we are actually supposed to restate it. We're not supposed to use it in the way they put it there. We take control of that form and use it the way we want to use it because it's a court action. All forms are a court action. So you mentioned going in and redoing a form to change the name and remove the L. I will say this about that it doesn't matter whether you use your sovereign-born appellation or your free chosen sovereign appellation. Both are sovereign because they were spoken into existence by a sovereign, which is your mother. She spoke your sovereign-born appellation into existence, which is the name given at birth. She spoke that into existence before frauds at the end of the delivery table decided to create instruments. So that is a sovereign-born appellation, but it's only sovereign when stated by you. And then you spoke a sovereign free national appellation into existence, so then that's sovereign also. But the difference being, when the fraud states something in your sovereign-born appellation, you just restate it back. You restate it the way that it should be. Okay? You know, because if you're not in control of your own capitalism, and that's what our fiduciary documents do. That's what fiduciaries do. If you're not in control of your own capitalism, then even if you say, if I said, my name is Light Tajiri Bey, I'm saying Bey, but the frauds will capitalize that and still put you in jail, you know, or something like, you know, because we've all been through that. So that means we have to be in charge of our own capitalism, and we can use our sovereign-born appellation and our free national name if we chose, because it's our capitalism. What's capitalism? The letters, the color of the ink, the numbers, the sounds, what we state, you know. So we're just grateful that you're here, and we're grateful that, you know, anything that we've put out there, if it has helped you, we're grateful for that too. And obviously you all are very competent because you're already demonstrating who you are, and it's working. So we're just honored that you're here. Very honored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one last moment here. The ancient English language,
Yes.
would there be a video? I believe I may have seen or heard something that you had that could point in that direction.
Yes, I'll even point in that direction with one or two sentences right now. Ancient English comes from our spirit. So as you are writing and you're thinking, okay, I want to spell this in a way that my intention comes across on the document. Ancient English is a mix of Spanish, French, Latin, Italian, and all other languages, to include Asian languages. Ancient English comprises them all. So at any time, if you're writing one sentence, you can use any version of those words from another language that you choose. That will make it Ancient English. Ancient English comes from the soul of each one of the heirs. And when it comes from the soul, as you're typing things and writing things out, for example, you know, and I'll just put something on the screen here. This first sentence, I'll take it. If I was to write this in Ancient English, I would just restate it so that my spelling of these words changes the meaning to what I intend for it to mean. So here and there, I just look and I say, okay, I know that when they say account, they're meaning debtor account. When I say account, I mean creditor account, so I'll just put an E on the end. And as long as you change one word in the sentences on a Moorish affidavit, you're speaking Ancient English. If you change the spelling of just one of the words in each sentence, whether that word is and with an E on the end or whatever it is, whatever you're led by the spirit within you. And then any of our Ancient English words, if you research any other languages, you're going to see that same spelling in the other languages, but it's coming from within us. It does not matter how you choose to express your Ancient English. It doesn't matter how you choose to express it. We'll all still be able to read it, and that's what makes it ancient. It's going to come from your soul. And the reason we do it that way, nobility, is because in each one of our blood, for example, you spoke some Spanish, right, a little earlier. You have ancient Spanish in your blood. I have ancient French, and I didn't even know that until I started writing ancient English, and the majority of the words that came out, when I looked at the French language, it looks just like it. And then there are some Moors, their ancient English comes out as Latin, but I can still read it. We can all still read it because the spelling is one letter or two letters risen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so ancient English, you already know it. Each one of you already knows it. And it will come from within you, and he will be able to read yours. You will be able to read ours. It's like that. That's what makes a language a national language, is that everyone in the nation can understand it and speak it. And that's one of the tenets for stating that you are a nation, you are a government, is you have to have your own language in common. Mm-hmm. And it can't be just commercial English. It can't just be common English, which is what's on the screen now. Before the spellings is common English. Mm-hmm. The nobility must have an ancient language that they know of. And for each one of us, because of the different tribes that we come from, the different nations, your ancient English is going to come out different from mine. And it may be similar, but it'll be different because those spellings are according to what you know. What's coming from your soul and your blood. Yeah. So you already know it. Just start using it.
Best way to connect with you or contact you in the event of
WhatsApp. Are you familiar with WhatsApp?
I'm familiar with WhatsApp. I have WhatsApp.
Okay. And my number on WhatsApp is, if you have a pen.
I do.
334-294-9828.
Very good.
Islam.
Thank you, Islam.
You're welcome. And use it anytime.
Thank you.
Islam.
Islam.
Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom?
Islam,
Empress.
I just wanted to remind everyone, when you're reformatting documents, that a benefit should be replaced with entitlement, because benefits are taxed.
Islam. That's Empress Rosetta, just a study God. She just studies.
Islam system.
And also, I want for retirement, I noticed when I was looking at my paperwork, the power of attorney, since you already applied, needs to be abolished as well. So if you haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Islam. Thank you.
Islam. Indeed. When you're abolishing powers of attorney, always put something in its place, such as a fiduciary trustee document of your own choosing in your own writing, or a power for attorney, or an attorney in fact document in place of what you abolish. So, as we abolish all of this fraud and stuff that was going on, we always put something in its place, because that's what you do on the chessboard. Is you put your own there, and that's how you win. That's why we restate the documents and things. So, with that being stated, is there anything further from this wise and ancient council?
One more question.
Yes.
Domicile in Territory of Florida. Earl's my brother. I'm Howard. As I was listening, I just kind of noticed, lost my train of thought for a second. The documents, for example, i.e. the name change. Once I finish and complete, which I've done, an email to our government, do I take a specific number of those documents, and I was given instructions by one of the boards of the name. I'm very grateful, but I'm not quite clear about his instructions. He said mail them to California Secretary of State, Washington, D.C. Secretary of State, and where I domicile.
So,
is that correct?
If your spirit is having a problem doing that, don't do it. If your spirit is not with that, we know, and again, we're not being derogatory towards anyone who's doing those documentations, that paperwork. We know that we are the secretaries for sovereign state, so we just put it on the public record. You can put your documents on the public record one time, and that's good enough. That's enough.
Beautiful.
Because guess what? All public servants are supposed to check the public record.
Yes. Yes. Your Facebook is where I should go. Because me and my brother, we was trying to find. We found the Facebook, but we couldn't find the recording aspect of it. That's what we was kind of.
Okay, so you would go to any of the pages that are called Moorish American Consulate Public Records, and there are many out there, and if you can't find one, create one that says Moorish. If you want to say Moorish National Republic Federal Government Recording Records, you can say that. You can say Moorish American Consulate Public Records. You can call your page that. You can call your page Empire State of Morocco. Whatever you want to call your page, you can call it that, and then start uploading your documents there. It's still the public record.
So literally, I can put it on the American Moorish Consulate record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sweating.
You're the consulate. You've always been. You're the consulate. You're the government. You're the Supreme Court. You're the judge. You're the president. You're the secretary for sovereign state. But all of you are that already.
Alhamdulillah.
Beautiful.
Islam. Thank you for clearing that up.
Sure.
My spirit say, let me call her.
Islam. And if any time we can be of assistance, we're here.
Merci.
And there's, I just love that merci because it's hitting my French soul.
I like to say thank you in 8 languages.
I would love to hear that. We would all love to hear that.
Yeah. Merci. Do arigato. Estoy toshimashite. Doje. Sheshe. Kamsamida. That's all I know.
Oh, that is beautiful. The Asian languages that you used are beautiful. I love those because there's about 3 of them in there. I was counting with, yes, beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I like to say, I give great honor to all the matriarchs. You all are very powerful. And we males, we need women like you all.
Islam.
We don't have that in abundance.
Islam.
We don't. And that's what's also drawn us males, to the matriarchs because of your high knowledge. We give you honor and thanks.
Islam.
Thank you so much.
Our honor. And if you don't mind, I would like for all the matriarchs on the call to open up and thank him because this is for all matriarchs. Star 6 and Islam is good.
Islam.
Yes.
Islam. Gracias. Angelica from New York. Islam.
Matando Maminge. Isola.
That's Shasha Hamilton from Jamaica.
Yes, it is. I learned that from her.
Yes.
That's Kikongo. Yeah. Actually, before you even said matriarchs, open up and say, I was like ready with my button to say Makondo, Mamingi, my goodness.
Yes.
So I give great honor to you and thank. I don't know, what was your appellation? The noble
Howard Rayford Lloyd L.
Howard Rayford Lloyd L. Yes.
And
your brother's appellation.
Yes, Earl.
It's Earl Julian Lloyd L. Earl Julian Lloyd L.
Earl Julian Lloyd L. We're so grateful to have you here. We're really
gratitude.
We're grateful for all the emperors.
Mm-hmm.
All emperors. We honor you. We honor
thank you all for such a tremendous, just
a lot of energy.
I call it a energetic response. That was just a great thing that all the ladies did.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes. Yes. We honor all the emperors. We don't have that, because I know I was just talking to one of my brothers the other day. He's a biological brother. We come from the same Stargate, and we were just talking the other day, and I said we don't have that war energy between the matriarchs and the emperors. We don't have that on these calls. We are one. We are together. Period. We're going to be together. Period.
Yes.
So
Love
we
that.
honoring and honoring and honoring and honoring one another. Yeah.
Receiving all of the positive vibes and energy that's come across here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Islam.
Yes.
Thank you.
Islam.
There was a question in the chat that I want to get before we adjourn for today. Someone put a question in the chat about Article 71, Civil Practice Law and Rules, Recovery of Chattels, 7102. Could we use this to seize their bonds? Honestly, they don't even really have bonds. That's why we've been leaning. And that's why they couldn't continue operating on the land without us intervening, because they didn't have bonds. So my response to that in the chat was, bonds are seized by leaning the fake ones and creating real ones. That's how you seize a bond, because they don't really have them. They're fake. They're just as fake as the green pieces of paper that they've been printing and saying that's money. It's not. It's fake. And with it, so we reconstruct everything that we see. We're just reconstructing it, everything from start to finish. All applications, all forms, all papers, all codes, all statutes, all of that. We're just recreating, because we're actually creating it anew, because we're the only ones who can create real documents. Everything else is fraud and fake. So we have to recreate everything. Is that going to take a while? Probably. But we're good. We up for it. we good for that. So with that being stated, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Much love, much love, much love.
Peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Peace and love.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Hold on a second. Peace and love, grand rising.
Peace and love, grand rising.
Islam. Islam.
Visual Bridge.